back to Third Phase of Moon. My name is Blake Cousins, and our special guest this week right here is Ph.D. Dr. David Jacobs. He's been studying the UFO phenomenon and has interviewed and performed over 900 hypnotic regressions with over 140 abductees. Thanks for joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon, Dr. Jacobs.
Thanks, Blake. I appreciate it. And I hope I can do well for you.
Appreciate it. You know, you've been studying this for over 38 years now in the UFO phenomenon. Can you tell me, with all your investigative, hypnotic regression interviews, what's the most shocking thing that you've come across so far?
Right. You want to try to avoid those questions which have an EST in it, the largest, the biggest, or most, but that only has an ST in it, because there is no such thing. It's not going to be answered. It can't be answered. So when people ask me, what's the best case you've ever found? What's the worst case? Whatever it is, there is no answer. The question involves something that stands out, and all of the accounts that I've looked at, all stand out in one way or another, and I've been sort of surprised and amazed by most of them anyway. So there is no such thing. It's the accumulation of data. It's the accumulation of facts. It has to do with sifting and winnowing and trying to figure out what's important, what's not important. Those are the most important things. A single case isn't going to do it. Abduction researchers, like UFO researchers, search for patterns. You're looking for things that are said by people and then resaid by other people, said again by other people who are unaware of the original testimony. That would be obviously the best case scenario. And then you have something, and if you have 3 or 4 or 10 people saying the same thing, all of whom are unaware that other ones are saying that thing, and that thing, whatever it is so unlikely to be simply invented out of thin air, then you have something that's important. And this is at the heart of abduction research. It's at the heart of UFO research. Without the patterns, you have nothing.
Can you tell us, how many people in the United States have been abducted and how many are still missing, to this day?
The number of people who are abducted in the United States is probably pretty much the same as the percentage of people who are abducted around the world, because we know that this is a global phenomenon. Back in 1991, my colleague Bud Hopkins and I, along with John Mack and Ron Westrom, and John Carpenter, who is a psychiatric social worker, all put together a poll that was a 6,000 person scientifically randomly selected person-to-person poll across the United States in 3 2,000 person sweeps. And we asked them what kind of odd experiences they had that abductees in pre-testing said yes to in extremely high percentages, and non-abductees said no to in extremely high percentages. And the number that we arrived at was a compromise number. All of the percentages we got in terms of answering affirmatively to these questions were high. It was in some questions and maybe even 12% of the people were answering yes and that sort of thing. So we became ultra crazily conservative, and we got the numbers down to 2% of the American people. Now 2% of 330 million people is, in my estimation, an awful lot of people. It's obviously millions. That's an extremely conservative number. I can't emphasize that enough. An extremely conservative number. And consequently, we know that at least 2% of the people have had experiences that abductees have had, and none of the abductees have not had. Now, do all those people think that they've been abducted? Probably not. Only a small percentage of those people would think that they've been abducted. because they know that they've had odd lives, and they've seen odd things, and they've felt odd things, and they've had missing time experiences, and they've seen ghosts, and they've seen other dead people, and they've seen religious figures, and they've traveled on the astral plane, and they've talked with raccoons and monkeys and owls and deer and everything else, and they've had all these, and their friends don't necessarily have these kinds of events. Do they know that they're abductees? Nope. However, there are a significant number of them who suspect that this is part of the abduction phenomenon, and those are the people who come to us and who we take a look at.
Can you tell us, David, as far as the abduction phenomenon, are the aliens themselves doing it, or could there be government factions actually abducting their own citizens right here in the United States and cooperating with the aliens at the same time?
Well, I don't think that the government and the aliens are working together. That would be, from my point of view and from the point of view of the abduction phenomenon, absolutely, completely, and totally ridiculous, because aliens can do pretty much whatever they want. They don't need to work together with anybody, nor do they need to sign a contract, as some people have suggested, that the government will let them alone as long as the aliens give us technology. That is unnecessary, and if you know the alien phenomenon, just perfectly absurd. These beings are technologically and physiologically advanced, and there's no reason for them to work with anybody or to make a bargain with anybody whatsoever. Many people ask me if the government is looking into this subject, is studying it, is trying to figure out what it's all about. And you can't prove a negative. I can't prove that the government isn't. And the evidence for it, I think, is virtually non-existent. I don't see any evidence. Deep down inside of my brain, I hope it's true. I hope that the government is looking into the subject and they're keeping it secret. That's okay. I can live with that. That's fine. As long as they're looking at it, as long as they're involved with it, that would be excellent. I have no animosity towards the government one way or the other. I would like them to look into it, of course. I'd like the scientific community to look into it. But the government is not going to look into this subject without the scientific community as a basis for it. This is ultimately a scientific phenomenon on one level. It's a military and a problem and a governmental problem and a societal problem on every other level. But at the same time, the government is going to take its cues from the scientific community. And if scientists get together as a group, like they did to that set in motion the Manhattan Project in 1942, if they get together as a group and they say, this is something that we need to expend time and energy and money looking into, then the government might do that. That is possible. And they might keep it secret. That is possible also. There's no indication whatsoever that anything like that has happened. In fact, what we see in the scientific and academic community now is a much greater hostility towards the subject than I have ever seen before. It's not just towards abductions, it's towards UFOs as well. There are outliers who disagree in the government, and there's always going to be people who say, no, that's not the way it is. But the fact is that right now, the scientific community is extremely hostile and cares not one whit about this subject.
I've heard, and theories around the internet have obviously said that these hybrids are looking more and more human-like over the years. Can you tell us what is the reason for this and what is their intention?